pilotos de aquecimento. Apologies, folks, for the difficulties with sound this evening. We do apologise for the inconvenience to your broadcast coverage. However, we can tell you how exciting the battle has been over the course of the first race of the day. Here, with two races, obviously, to talk our way through, but it's been a sizzler of a second race. And it is a wonderful moment for Miguel Mariotti to come through as the race winner of the second of our Portimão encounters, despite the fact that he is not in the Premier category. A sport driver taking a victory in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil in 2025 is always a massive achievement. So it's a double-class success for Miguel Mariotti in unbelievably thrilling circumstances. A race that had plenty of drama and attrition over its 13 laps. Marcel Müller gaining maximum points in Pro for the second race in a row. But for Miguel Paludo, the championship leader, it's damage limitation in fourth position overall. Decent points on the board for him, and it certainly keeps his championship aspirations well and truly alive. A fantastic battle here at Portimão in our special summer holiday. I'm Jake Sanson, good to be with you. We'll still bring you full coverage, of course, of the second encounter. But what a sensational result it is, as Miguel Mariotti will climb the podium ahead of Marcel Müller and Marcos Regadas after his victory in yesterday's race in the category. So it just shows you how determined Miguel Mariotti was today after a very difficult day at the office in the end yesterday. Certainly race one was not to be for him, but certainly for race two, he's been able to bring it back together. A top five that will see some very unusual names in it, it has to be said. Miguel Mariotti, Marcel Müller, Marcos Regadas, Miguel Paludo and Christian Hahn, as we take a look at the number 80 car that has been so strong in its battle for the supremacy in the sport category. Roman Zimkovic, fifth in sport. Fourth place for Nelson Marcondes. Third for Nelson Monteiro. Second in the category for Marcos Regadas. And the man who will top the podium, both overall and in the sport class, namely Miguel Mariotti. In the rookies category, well, it's been a tough one as well. But despite pitting with 4 laps remaining, I think there's a possibility that we'll see Silvio Modestoni classified in 5th position. We may only get 4 rookies to the podium. Vanier Pontes was the 4th one and the last man to cross the line. We've also got Flavio Champau 3rd, Marco Pisani in 2nd, and Paulo Sousa, the rookie winner, in a very dramatic race indeed that we saw several retirements, namely Yosemar Junior, Alsu Felmanito, as well as Eduardo Minossi, Israel Salmen, Francisco Horta, Carlos Campos, Bruno Campos, Silvio Modestoni, Vanier Pontes, Matias Camparato in dramatic circumstances, and of course then the last man home, only 19 of the competitors. Here is the provisional result. Miguel Mariotti in a crazy race that sees him top both the sport and overall categories, ahead of Marcel Müller, Marcos Regadas, Miguel Paludo and Christian Hahn. Thiago Vivacqua and Lucas Salas ahead of Antonella Bassani, Nelson Monteiro and Nelson Marcondes. Very exciting stuff all the way through. The 11th place taken by Roman Zimkovic in front of Rodrigo Melo, Seba Marucelli and Marco Bili from Christian Moore, Lineu Perez in 16th, and then Paulo Sousa, Marco Pisani and Flavio Champau. And then we had Gustavo Janon a lap adrift, although the likelihood of them actually being classified as a race finisher is unlikely. None of the other cars in the race actually completed the full race distance, with plenty of drama to come from the second race of our day here, which is of course going to be the Sprint Challenge race, and that is going to be a nail-biter. Positive scenes and plenty of smiles down here in the pit lane as we take to the podium, and the overall podium will see that man, Miguel Mariotti, on the top step, and he will stay put for the Sport Challenge. It doesn't happen too often in this category. Has happened a couple of times. Certainly last year, the victory in the fantastic early stage of last season from Ryan Mascherano certainly springs to mind. But what a sensational duel it has been in this one, as we get 5 very tired and very exhausted drivers after what has been an absolute thriller of an encounter. So victories all the way then as Christian Hahn takes his place in 5th position and raises the trophy aloft. He can start to see now that the more times he loses to Miguel Paludo, the less likely it is that he's got a stranglehold on this championship. Paludo, damaged invitation for him in 4th place. He'll be satisfied with that. 3rd position, a good return on investment from Marcos Regadas this weekend. And in the Sport Championship battle, a win and a 2nd over the weekend. Marcel Müller finally showcasing his ability after the misery of the first 3 weekends at Velocita again, and Interlagos. It's nice to see him getting the points he deserves to score. But there is your race victor. Excellent display and a great performance from Miguel Mariotti. That will mean so much to him to get the victory in such incredible fashion. A wonderful fillet for him and his crew. It's not every day that a sport driver tops the podium overall, and so our boys get busy with the fizzy here in Portimão. And that isn't even over for them now, because next week they will have the endurance race to take on. 2.5 hours of the Autódromo Internacional Algarve in the first of our 3 events in 2025 that will be of the endurance variety. Right from the start, we knew this race was going to be a sizzler. Algarve gives us plenty of talking points. And so the competitors were right in the hunt from the outset. But the checkered flag fell on a very tricky race indeed for Miguel Mariotti. It was always really exciting to see what he could do when the chips were down. And in an absolute valiant effort from Miguel Mariotti, who of course is in a different car compared to what he was in yesterday. His car too damaged to continue. He used one of the spares for this race. Even doubly more impressive then that Miguel Mariotti could drive and win in such an amazing fashion. So now to the sport podium. The top 5 drivers in the sport category. 5th position for Rumen Zimkiewicz. Very happy, I'm sure he is with that. A good effort. Nelson Marcondes, good result in 4th position, and he's certainly happy with another trophy to take back to his shelf. 3rd position, Nelson Monteiro. Much cleaner race for him this time. Good to see him doing such a good job in difficult circumstances. Another podium, another valiant effort from Marcos Regadas. 3rd position overall, and 2nd in the sport category. But a race win overall and in the class for Miguel Mariotti. That's going to take some beating in 2025, I can tell you. So as Miguel Mariotti celebrates his coming-of-age moment, and surely the indicator that we're going to see him in the Carrera Cup itself in 2026. What a result for the boys who get to celebrate in style. And that's a nice fillet for both Miguel Mariotti and Marcos Regadas to have 2 bottles of champagne to spray. They can be very pleased indeed with their hard work. There's the joy in pit lane. It's one thing to win a race in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil in any category. But when you're a sport driver and you've taken on and beaten the drivers in Carrera Cup, that's particularly special. And Miguel Mariotti is going to remember this day for such a long time. So the cars are on the formation lap for the sprint challenge. We're going to have the podium ceremony just quickly. There is Miguel Paludo leading the championship after this weekend. Christian Hahn is now just 24 points back. Tiago Vavacqua, Lucas Salas and Matthias Camparato from Antonello Bassani, Marcos Regadas, Elsie Feldman, Miguel Mariotti and Seba Malucelli. Despite the strong score from Marcel Müller this weekend, it isn't quite enough after the misery of the opening 2 weekends to put him into the top 10 of the championship yet. And I'm afraid that means that for his money, Marcel Müller's dreams of becoming the champion in 2025 are well and truly done. He needed a nightmare for Miguel Paludo, and Paludo didn't have one. He just consolidated his position. Well, those are the cars for the sprint challenge going around. I wonder if we're going to get to see the rookie podium before we go into the action. There they are. I did wonder. So, in a very strange race indeed, we're only going to see 3 drivers in the rookie class by the look of it, because there were no other finishers in the rookie category. So 3rd place to Flavio Champal, 2nd place to Marco Pisani, And first, to Paulo Sousa, who also was the second master driver home as well. One of only 2 masters to come through. A great result for Paulo Sousa. He'll be ecstatic. So now we're getting ourselves ready for the challenge, and it is going to be an exciting one for the sprint challenge. These are the highlights from the race battle in the Porsche Carrera Cup. And it has been a sensational battle for them. So now we get to cross over to the competitors gearing themselves up ready for the sprint challenge. It is going to be a very exciting challenge for them from the back of the grid to the front. And for George Filio, the chance to run from pole position alongside Mario Dallara will be an exciting one. But can Cecilia Rebello come through to get the victory after what has been a truly sensational battle out on the course? Right, we've had our 3 class podiums. What are we doing here? It's the podium of the weekend, I do believe. No, my apologies. It's just the Masters podium. So that is Paulo Sousa. And of course, the man who tops the Masters podium, that is Nelson Monteiro. Just 2 Masters finishing the race then. And Nelson Monteiro is our leading master from the weekend in Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil. Right, on to the sprint challenge then for their second and final race of the weekend. George Filio and Mario Dallara lining up on the front row of the starting grid together. For Cecilia Rebello, it's pressure time. Leonardo Herman lines up alongside her, and that'll be an interesting run to the first corner for sure. Sadek Leiter and Caio Chavez. He went from 8th to the victory yesterday. Can he go from P6 to the victory today? Daniel Newman, top rookie, alongside Jose Moranito. Then Andrei Godzinski lining up beside Luis Souza to round out the top 10. Matias Roque is alongside Marquez and Marquez. Then it is Claudio Reina beside Claudio Chimiao. The 6th row was a good one. The 7th row not bad, but the 8th row is Rafa Brocchi and Fernando Arruda. And then we have William Araujo along with Lucas Locatelli. And rounding out the grid, we have Gerson Campos at the back, along with Ricardo Zilberman. That should be Caio Castro is in the mix in 20th. Ricardo Zilberman in 21st position. Now, I'm informed that Caio Castro is not out there on the course, so he should be lining up 20th place. But Caio Castro is nowhere to be seen, so it looks as though he's had to pull out of this race, clearly due to the ill effects that the car had yesterday. He'll get another chance to shine at the Autódromo Internacional Algarve next week when we'll have the endurance race. That's going to be ridiculously exciting when we take to the course. But now our drivers are working their way out of the final turn. They will climb up the crest. They will go along the straight in the 2 rows of formation. And when we go out, the race will be under starters' orders. 25 minutes on the clock. Who's going to get the victory? Will it be Filio, Dallara, Rebello, Herman? We'll find out as we go into race trim. It's a long hold on the lights, but we do go to race orders, and it's going to be a tough one for Mario Dallara to try and outsprint Cecilia Rebello, trying to get up into 2nd position on the inside line. As right round the outside goes Leonardo Herman. Fantastic work from Herman as he commits fully to the outside line. Absolutely extraordinary. And Leonardo Herman in the silver machine moves up into the lead. Rebello knocked of confidence, I have a feeling, by that first corner run around the outside as every driver tried to squeeze her into the mix there. She's still in front of Sadek Leiter, but down to P6 in overall. So as they work their way down the hill, it's going to be another big charge here from Caio Chavez, who gets into 3rd position. Dives up on the inside line of Mario Dallara. And so that is Dallara down into 4th position. Rebello is in 5th. 6th place is Sadek Leiter. But P2, the man who Caio Chavez needs to take on, is the pole sitter, George Filio, with Leonardo Herman having already got ahead, and he wants to pull as clear away from Filio as possible. He doesn't want Caio Chavez to even have a sniff of this victory, so he's got to pull out the biggest gap possible and then hope we don't get a safety car. Not going to be easy to control the pace as they go up over the top of the crest. We're going to get to see if there's some moves coming in here. The 32 of Matias Roque trying to work his way forward. A very intensive duel as Luis Souza finds his way down on the far side. That's side by side from Caio Chavez. He gets his run on the inside line, and there's nothing George Filio can do to defend. So Caio Chavez had the move on the inside of the left-hander, held his nerve, kept it together, and now is in P2. Leonardo Herrmann trying to stretch away a lead as well as he can, as quickly as possible. Did you see the bounce in Caio Chavez as he went through the final turn? That just shows you the center of gravity for these cars on this circuit is at a real premium. Cecilio De Bello trying to get out of the racing line, clearly not wanting to have any pressure undue from Daniel Newman into turn one. Newman's going to try and get alongside and parallel round the far side. No, you don't, says Cecilio De Bello, as she makes the bid and gets ahead of Mario Dallara. So Mario Dallara is now going to be hunted down surely by Daniel Newman. And that's Cecilio De Bello up into 4th position. So now she needs to go and chase after George Filio. There is Filio leading the sport category. There's Rebello, 98, second in sport. Third in sport is the 77 of Mario Dallara. And there's the 14, Andrei Gajinski, doing a great job. Excellent work for Gajinski as he chases after Daniel Newman. A really exciting charge up the hill. They skate their way through on the far side. And what a sensational run. Up to the far side, up the top of the crest, and coaxing the car over the top of the hill. 22 minutes still remaining then in this exciting encounter. A drive-through penalty already. A drive-through penalty for 2 cars for jumping the start. One of them is the 99, that's Claudio Reina. The other one is the 33, that's William Araujo. So 2 of the rookies then getting drive-through penalties for jumping the start. Guilherme de la Garda is Portuguese for jumping the start. My Portuguese isn't fantastic, but after 2 years of working in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil paddock, you certainly get to know what that means. So Andrei Gajinski hovering around all over the back of Daniel Newman. He can put the leading rookie in this race under pressure. There's Cecilio De Bello dropping Mario Dallara and searching for the move on George Filio, but she's going to have 21 minutes of work to catch up to the race leaders. Leonardo Herrmann trying to get away from Caio Chavez, who is half a second a lap quicker. Gets a 150.1 on lap 2. Rebello, look, she's trying her best to stay out of Mario Dallara's line. It goes right round the outside, and there's contact. Mario Dallara spins in turn 1. There was just the lightest little paint traded between the 2 cars. And Cecilio De Bello holds on. Now, the question is, will they investigate that? And could Rebello get a penalty? Because I have a feeling that Mario Dallara is going to be quite forthright in his opinions about how that worked. Here's a replay of the start again, and look, you can see a couple of cars jumping out of line before the lights went out. The lights were on a long hold, but it doesn't matter how long the lights are held. You've still got to hold your position, right? Here's the move. It's just the slightest of love taps, but I don't know. I'd say that's a racing incident, but I'm sure Mario Dallara won't feel the same way. So he has spun his car right down the order. Very unfortunate indeed for Mario Dallara. That's a podium in rookie gone. And of course, the bitterness and the recrimination are going to be very intriguing. Well, fascinating to consider how it all continues. Leonardo Herrmann, Caio Chavez. And in 3rd place now, George Filio, trying to get away from Cecilia Rebello, but of course Rebello could be under investigation for her moment with Mario Dallara at the beginning of the lap. It was only worthy of a yellow flag. It wasn't worthy of a safety car because Mario Dallara could get going again. So we need to figure out where the 77 is going to filter back in after the spin. Leonardo Herrmann still losing time to Caio Chavez, who takes another 0.4 of a second out of him on that last lap. Down through turn 1. George Filio. Cecilio De Bello losing a bit of ground again, this time to Daniel Newman, then Gajinski, Mora, Souza, Roque, Gerson Campos up to 10th place now from the back of the grid. Locatelli, Marquez, Brocchi, Aruda, and then Mario Dallara. Let's look back. We see Mario Dallara. There he is, just coming into view there in the background as we take a look at the treble 4 of Marquez and Marquez, Rafa Brocchi, Fernando Aruda, and then it's Mario Dallara, who had that spin at turn 1. Incredibly, that spin only cost him 8 seconds or so. Big dive up the inside. That is a great charge forward from Jose Moranito to get through on the inside of Andrei Gajinski. So Jose Moranito gets his run on Gajinski. Works very well indeed as he goes up the top of the crest. Working the way through on the far side, tightening up. So, a magnificent challenge then for the competitors. Working their way through on the far side. And back up the top of the crest. Hoping for a little bit more of a smooth transition as the drivers go through in close proximity. Hoping for a little bit more as they come up over the top of the hill. Right, now, Caio Chaves reeling in the race leader, Leonardo Herrmann. Chaves wants the chance to go for the victory for the second time in a row, and Leonardo Herrmann's backs are against the ropes at the moment. Out of the hairpin. And look at how much speed Chaves can carry, but he's got to be careful. He doesn't want to incur track limits. That looked like 4 wheels off the track for me. And the car in front is Sadak Leiter. So Sadak Leiter, who is clearly having difficulties, but he's cruising around trying to bring the car to the finish. Looking at the high attrition of the previous Carrera Cup race, he clearly feels that if I just keep going, I could end up on the podium. And he's not wrong. No, Daniel Newman, actually having a look at Sadak Leiter, with him being a Carrera Sprint Challenge driver, even if he does get to the end of the race, he will not be on the podium because there's only 4 drivers in the Challenge category. And so there'll be plenty of sport and rookie drivers to hustle their way in onto the podium. If Daniel Newman, by the way, finishes in 5th position, he's going to be on the podium 3 times, because in the Sprint Challenge Championship, you've got the overall top 5, for which the sport and rookie are included. Then you've got the sport podium, for which the rookie is also included and incorporated, and then the rookie podium separate. So if Daniel Newman stays in 5th position, he's going to come away with 3 trophies. There is Geração Campos trying to get himself back into contention. He's got Luis Souza in front of him. That's for 8th position. And I have to say, very impressed so far that in the first 10 minutes... Oh, as I was just going to say, in the first 10 minutes, we haven't had a safety car. And I think we may get one now. So that's gone horribly wrong. I think that's up at turn 4. I'm not sure exactly, but we'll double check. But we certainly got a retirement, but I couldn't see from the door who the driver was involved in that one. But there is Leonardo Herrmann in front of Caio Chaves, still holding his line. Now, the problem is a safety car doesn't actually help Leonardo Herrmann that much here, if we were to get one, although the car was well off the line. Across the line, Chaves equal to the pace of Leonardo Herrmann that time around. So Herrmann able to pick up the speed and really push himself into a race-winning position by just continuing to run that gauntlet, run that line. So a fascinating scenario. Well, a really intriguing battle for everybody. But what a sensational battle. A truly incredible run. 15 minutes left in this race, and Herrmann running in front of Caio Chaves. Well, the retirement appears to have happened far enough away from the racetrack that we're not going to have to worry about a safety car. But it looks to me as though it's affected George Filio. I think it's Filio, you know. He seems to have disappeared from the fray. And Cecilia Rebelo, he's running in 3rd place now. Newman in 4th, Jose Morenito in 5th. Safety car is called. Safety car is called. Oh, and that's why. That's Mario Delara in the gravel. So Mario Delara, who was battling for the victory in the sport category at some point, well, he's gone off the road there at the final turn, and that's separate to what we saw happen to George Filio. That's not the same incident. So I think George Filio had a mechanical problem at the same time. Mario Delara on the same lap flew off the course at the final turn. So that means that we are under safety car. Big drama here at Portimão, and this is not good news for Leonardo Herrmann, who had a stranglehold over Caio Chaves to the tune of 0.7 of a second. A safety car doesn't help at all. And now essentially we're going to get to see a very different type of race for the second half of it. But this is great news for Cecilia Rebelo, because her 2 main challenges for the sport victory now have gone by the wayside. Mario Delara off the road. And also, obviously, a bit of a moment there too from the pole sitter overall and in the class, George Filio. So I would suspect then that Cecilia Rebello's challenge to the victory in the class is going to be almost unprecedented. We're going to see a replay of what happened here. Let's have a look and see in the background. We're going to see Mario Dallara suddenly go sideways. Oh, it's a big spin from a long way in and then contact. So Mario Dallara was blameless in that one. Well, big drama, and I think it might have been Claudio Reina who spun initially. Well, there is the 32 recovering. That's Matthias Roque. I don't think he's the only one with a yellow car in the mix. But a big spin coming off that final corner, and Mario Dallara, an innocent victim. Nothing he could do. The thing is, at that hairpin, you're already committed on that line at that speed. If you bail out of it at that point, then essentially you're not racing anymore. So completely nothing you could do. Now, I think we were just hearing an audio there of the replay. So I wonder if we're going to get another chance to see it. But safety car is out. And this is bad, bad, bad news for Leonardo Herrmann, who had 0.8 of a second roughly on Caio Chavez and was picking up the pace on him as well. But now that we've got safety car, it's neutralized. Caio Chavez gets a reset button. Cecilia Rebello now leads in sport. But will there be an investigation into the little love tap between her and Mario Dallara? At the moment, I would suggest no, there isn't, because I think they have gone without it. Those are the safety car lights out. So I think we're going to go racing now. The field has been bunched up just in the nick of time at the back of the field there, as we get the likes of William Araujo and Claudio Reina joining in at the back. But yeah, the safety car's peeling off. We're going to get 11 minutes of green flag. Leonardo Herrmann's gone straight for it. He knows that Caio Chavez is going to leave him vulnerable in the latter stages of this race. And as they climb up the hill, they're going to be onto the main straight. They'll wait for the green flag on the straight, and there it is. It's green, 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 green as we rejoin in the sprint challenge. This is now a duel of wits between Leonardo Herrmann and Caio Chavez. Chavez is closed right up on Herrmann on the approach to turn one. So all the hard work that he was trying to do before the safety car is already done. Here goes Gerson Campos right round the outside. Brilliant bit of driving from Gerson Campos as he takes on Daniel Newman. Gets in front, so Gerson Campos is not out of the woods. He could get himself into the top three overall here. He's got time, and there he goes to finish off the challenge from Daniel Newman. On the inside in the background as well, that's Luis Souza diving through on Lucas Locatelli to protect his position. Up the climb. Check out the duel between these two. Absolutely extraordinary. 10 minutes remaining. Up the top of the crest. And so we had a magnificent duel planned between these two. But Caio Chavez working his magic and doing a fantastic job all over the rear spoiler of Leonardo Herrmann's silver machine. Cecilia Rebello going well in third place. I'm not seeing any investigations, by the way, for the turn one incident between her and Mario Dallara. The officials must have thought, same as me, that that was a racing incident. Here goes Caio Chavez, dialing in on Leonardo Herrmann, 9 minutes on the clock. And this is going to be a tough race battle. Is into the pits and parking it, Sada Gleiter, one of only 4 Sprint Challenge Premier category drivers in this race. Now there are only 3, and Gerson Campos is trying to work his way through the field to get onto the overall podium. I think he's P5 now. Yes, he is, so that would put him on the overall podium. His next target, though, is Jose Moranito. There he is in the green and blue machine to get into 4th position ahead of him. Would be nice. Daniel Newman still leads in the rookie category. Currently running behind Gerson Campos, but Newman is 6th from Gajinski, Souza, Lucas Locatelli, and Marquez Marquez in 10th from Aruda, Broki, Roque, Araujo, Reina, Stilberman, and Claudio Chimiao. Leonardo Herrmann having to go defensive, try and cut across from Caio Chavez, but he's opened the door. It's the classic switcheroo from Caio Chavez. There's nothing Leonardo Herrmann can do except fight back up the top of the hill and dive back into the inside. And he manages to take the place back. The Caio Chavez was sold the dummy, but Leonardo Herrmann snatched it away from him, out of his crib. Amazing retaliation from Leonardo Herrmann. He dug deep and fought back. And if these two continue to battle, then Cecilio de Bello, Jose Morenito and Gerson Campos are going to close up. This isn't done by any means at all. Chavez peeks out from behind Leonardo Herrmann. A natural move potentially on here into the left, but not when Leonardo Herrmann is defending, but he's overshot. And that'll do for Caio Chavez. Surely there's no right of reply now from Herrmann. Chavez goes a little bit wide, but not enough. Leonardo Herrmann's going to have the slipstream though into turn one, so maybe Herrmann can bounce back as they go through the final bend. Jose Morenito trying the same tactic with Cecilio de Bello in third place in the background. Leonardo Herrmann needs to get into the slipstream with Caio Chavez, who pulls out of it. I think he's defended well there. As is Cecilio de Bello, she's trying to drag into the slipstream of Leonardo Herrmann, and that should protect her from Jose Morenito in turn one. Herrmann, whoa, up on the curbs, and he's going to lose the car. Well, Jose Morenito got ahead of Cecilio de Bello in all of that as well, but Leonardo Herrmann bouncing over the curbs, and it pitched him around. Cecilio de Bello drops to third. He should be second, but Jose Morenito's got in front. I think that was all because Cecilio de Bello had to take avoiding action of the wayward Leonardo Herrmann. Watch him on the curb. Look, he turns in too early, loses the car altogether. And Cecilio de Bello has to get off the gas. That's enough for Jose Morenito to get ahead. And Leonardo Herrmann's victory long gone. Here's the mistake that cost him the win. Overshot. And Caio Chavez made mincemeat of him. Excellent work from Caio Chavez. And Leonardo Herrmann making the costly error in turn one, hopping over the curbs. And the car pitches around. So easily done. If you turn this flat six on too tight a radius and you unsettle the center of gravity at too high a speed, that's it, you're swapping ends. Right, Cecilio de Bello will be furious that her maneuver there to avoid the stricken Leonardo Herrmann has cost her the lead in the sport category. She's going to go back onto Jose Morenito, who almost makes exactly the same mistake as Leonardo Herrmann did a lap ago. Cecilio de Bello trying to cut back over to the inside radius to try and get back on terms with Jose Morenito. And watch out in the background, you've got a very interesting challenge now from Gerson Campos, who will want to try and get into second position. Off the final turn, big mistake from Jose Morenito, right off the racetrack. As Cecilio de Bello will be able to do a lot of work to close up. Can she make the dive to the inside line into turn one? She's out of the slipstream. She's going to be drawing level alongside. She'll commit. And Cecilio de Bello is on the inside and through. Gerson Campos gets through as well. Great job, Cecilia. Excellent overtake, my friend. Now Campos will commit to the inside of Bello. No, you don't, says Cecilia. I'm not going to be pushed around by anyone. Fantastic from Cecilio de Bello. Second place ahead of Gerson Campos. Campos will surely get a run down into turn four. I wouldn't fight it too much, Cecilia. You've got the sport victory to think about. And indeed, Gerson Campos gets the run, but she's opened the door for Jose Morenito. Nito back in front. Well, Campos took the opportunity and Jose Morenito saw the gap and said, right, that's how I'm going to get back ahead of Cecilio de Bello. So he did. Very wise thinking from Jose Morenito. Saw the gap opening up thanks to Gerson Campos. Kept his car in there. Saw the gap. Filled the gap. Beautifully handled under the circumstances. And really well taken. Well manoeuvred. So the battles continue to rage here. As along the lower part of the hill, Rebello is going to try again. Jose Morenito protecting the inside line. Will surely have learned from the previous mistakes, but Cecilio de Bello is not going to give up lightly. Second place in the class is nice. Victory in the class is even nicer still. And after her win yesterday, she will want to make it the double here at the Autódromo Algarve. Out through the hairpin, dipping down through the crest. There's Leonardo Herrmann getting himself back into the reckoning. Up on the inside of Luis Souza. So he's done an amazing job on this lap. He's got ahead of Araujo, Arruda, Roque, and now Luis Souza. Next target is going to be Marquez in 8th place, but he's only got 3 minutes left to work his way back through, so he's not going to make much more progress than this, just because of the way that the cars have spread out again. With a turn 1, that's Gajinski, Locatelli, and Daniel Newman. Then the 144 of Marquez ahead of Matthias Roque, and then it is Leonardo Herrmann. The Gajinski protecting his line on the inside line there from Lucas Locatelli. This is for P5, don't forget, so this is not just a decent result in the sport class. This is an overall podium that they're fighting for. Lucas Locatelli on the inside, though. He got a great run out of 3 and into 4 and into turn 5. He gets the run. Excellent from Lucas Locatelli. That's P5. Oh, a bit of a run wide in the background there. I think that was an issue for Daniel Newman. I want to say, oh no, sorry, that is Daniel Newman, the third in the line. So Matthias Roque, I think, getting ahead on the inside of Marquez with Leonardo Herrmann in the mix there as well. That's the beauty of these championships. Everywhere you look, there is sizzling motorsport, amazing racing from our competitors. So, quite an exciting duel as they work their way around the trajectory. Hoping for another exciting battle out on the course. And so they run through once more. 1 minute 48 to go. And they will still push for all they're worth. And it's going to be a really entertaining run and a great battle for all of the contenders as they continue to pursue the victory. Out through the final turn. There is the 32, Matthias Roque, working his way back up the crest, trying to shake off the hard-charging Fernando Arruda. It is going to be an interesting situation for all of the contenders as they run in close proximity. Chavez, Campos now into second, by the way. He got ahead, of course, of Cecilio Rebello, and then Jose Morenito got the move as well. So they run in close proximity. Lucas Locatelli, P5. And so it will be a really close run. Just 1 minute to go in this race. And it looks to me as though Caio Chavez's great performance, his great victory, is going to be easy to maintain. A fantastic run and a really tough situation for the contenders. But we will get ourselves to a great procedure in closing. So the battle is going to be a tight one up at the top end. But Caio Chavez, Gerson Campos, Jose Morenito and Cecilia Rebello. They will finish off strong. Going to be tight to see how it all finishes up, but I think Caio Chavez has done beautifully in the circumstances. A 1 minute 50.117 the last time round. His tyres are still in good nick because he's been able to set the fastest lap of the race in the closing stages. Time runs down to 0, and despite only 1 safety car period, it's been Caio Chavez all the way as we watch Andrei Gajinski trying to stay in front of Daniel Newman, who is clearly going to get a podium finish in the sport category as well as a victory in the rookie category. So a great effort. Drive of the day, well, you kind of have to say Gerson Campos, really, don't you? From the back of the grid to second place. What a performance from Gerson Campos, and that's including with a safety car, don't forget. We're on the last lap, and Caio Chavez has just been sublime. 8th to 1st yesterday was magnificent. I guess 6th to 1st was never going to be quite as intense a challenge after that. But still, Caio Chavez had to get the job done. He had to knuckle down and push the Porsche as much as he possibly could. And the peg card, number 54 car, is going to come through at Algarve here in Portimão in Portugal after a double display of dominance. Gerson Campos will salvage his second place after an amazing drive from the back of the field. And in third position will be Jose Morenito, and that will be enough to give him the victory. Look at the consistency of the speed of these two, though. Gerson Campos has just been truly metronomic in the last few laps. Really able to maximize the lap times there of his car. And there is a car stopped out on the course there. That looks like Claudio Chimiao. So I think Claudio Chimiao has not completed the full race distance, so that puts him out and drops us to 16 cars. But Chimiao's car is well enough off the line that it's not going to trigger the safety car on the last lap. They can cover that with a yellow flag. Look at the fact that Gerson Campos is still pushing, trying to see if he can close in on Caio Chavez, and he has got that gap down from 1.9 a little way on the last lap, but he is going to run out of time. Without a safety car, who knows where Gerson Campos would have finished this race. He does get to finish it in second place, but out of the final turn, and for the second race this weekend, it's victorious for Caio Chavez. Chavez gets the checkered flag. Absolutely majestic race. Victory in the background for Jose Morenito in the sport category, in third position ahead of Cecilia Rebelo. And then the victory for Daniel Newman will come in rookie, despite losing the place on the road to Matthias Roque. Newman's just going to get there, incredibly, by only 0.3 of a second ahead of Fernando Arruda. But it is the double for Daniel Newman, just as it is the double overall for Caio Chavez. There he is, your race winner for the second race in succession. And of course, this sets us up all very nicely indeed for our next challenge, which of course will be met a week from now on the Autódromo Internacional Algarve with our endurance race challenge. I am so excited for next weekend. We're going to see some big names return to the fray, as the endurance race always requires a second pair of hands. And so we're going to get to see a really exciting battle out on the course. Fantastic racing all the way. But what a sensational challenge. Absolutely amazing. Well, absolutely sensational. So there is your winner in the sport category, Jose Morenito. It says rookie, it's actually the win in the sport category, as he vanquishes all before him in the sport class. And the victory, absolutely astonishing for Caio Chavez overall. A good run from Jose Morenito under pressure. Cecilia Rebelo has to settle for second position. Well, absolutely fantastic. So it is going to be a fabulous double victory as well for Daniel Newman in the rookie category. He's got so much to be delighted by. But here at Portimão for our summer holiday extravaganza, it really has been wonderful to see how it's all gone. A really exciting battle. Of course, now we get to get ourselves set up and ready for the endurance challenge, and we're going to get some big names coming in next week. Rising to the top of his roof again, Caio Chavez makes it 2 from 2. What a wonderful day. What a wonderful display. Absolutely fantastic. It's definitely worth tuning in next week when we have our endurance race, as it was here for the Carrera Cup and the Sprint Challenge, because we'll get some really nice names joining us next week. Some big names as well. Rafael Suzuki, Pedro Boisel, Felipe Fraga, a certain man called Nelson Piquet Jr. will join us next year. The first ever Formula E champion will be in the mix. And so too will so many others who have been great guests over the years. Well, with the likes of Felipe Fraga, Rafael Suzuki and Nelson Piquet Jr. And even competitors such as Marcos Gomez, Thiago Camilo and Rodrigo Melo, drivers joining us from the world of the Stock Car Pro. Great to see them come and race with us. And we'll also get to see competitors also from that paddock, the likes of Danilo Dorani, Vitor Batista and Fabio Carbone. You've got to tune in for that. It's going to be a really exciting battle. Sadly, the reigning champions in endurance will not return, so we won't get to see Rubens Barrichello flex his muscles in a Porsche again in 2025, at least not here in Portimão anyway. What a race. This one was a tense one, a really tense one in the Sprint Challenge. Leonardo Herrmann rolling his sleeves up and getting the job done in turn 1. But Caio Chaves put him under so much pressure in the early point. So now we're going to get to see if Caio Chaves can continue this brilliant form and move his way further forward into the battle. Apologies if the sound is affected, by the way. We seem to have picked up some of the Portuguese transmission on our feed. But Caio Chaves doing an amazing job. 2 wins out of 2. An extraordinary domination over the weekend. What a truly sensational battle there. And an excellent continuation of the form. So it'll be a really exciting situation as we head to the endurance race next week. Caio Chaves, though, he's delighted. 2 wins out of 2. Can he make it 3 out of 3 next week in the endurance? That's the big question from his point of view, and certainly the one he'll be wanting to answer. Well, fascinating how that's been achieved by Caio Chaves in such fantastic displays of heroism, putting Leonardo Herrmann under all the pressure in the world, letting him make the mistake. He got through, and then Herrmann made another mistake trying to stay with him. Chaves had this race written on the road and in the mind games as well. Good effort from Jose Morenito to the right of your picture, the 45. He drove beautifully. He made up places, dealt with his adversaries, and then stormed his way to the lead in the sport category. Very well taken indeed by Jose Morenito. William Araujo, he'll be disappointed, I think, with this weekend. The rookie driver had an opportunity to win both rookie class races, and it just hasn't worked out for him. Race 1 kind of fell apart in the latter stages. Race 2, he was sweating, trying to get himself back into a competitive position, and it hasn't really worked out in his favor. 3rd position, though, in rookie today. Much better than yesterday, but a lot of that hard work was undone in the latter stages of race 1. So as we wait for the 3 podium ceremonies, it's going to be an overall podium first, and that will see Caio Chaves, Gerson Campos, Jose Morenito, Cecilia Rebello, and Lucas Locatelli, your top 5. And that is the top 5 overall, of course. Lucas Locatelli then, P5, lifts his trophy to the right side of the podium. Cecilia Rebello lifts hers to the near side of the podium, to the left. 4th position, not a bad race. I think she'll be disappointed. I think the chance to win 2 races was there, and she knew it. Jose Morenito was the one who took it, and he is draped with his state's flag. 2nd place for Gerson Campos. What a comeback. What a drive from the back to P2. But Caio Chaves, invincible in the Algarve. 2 wins out of 2 for Caio Chaves. A very deserving result indeed. A couple of these drivers are not going to be particularly in the mood to spray this champagne, I don't think. Certainly Gerson Campos is, going from the back of the grid to 2nd. Are you kidding? Let's start the party. They're told by the photographers, no, raise your trophies aloft for the group photo first, please. Got to go through ceremony, got to go through protocol. Now you can pick up the bubbly, and now you can go bananas as our amazing aces in the Algarve get busy with the fizzy here in Portimão. Wonderful drive, wonderful display from Caio Chaves. Astonishing work from Gerson Campos, 2nd position there, and a truly fantastic comeback. For me, I think it's fair to say Gerson Campos has to be the driver of the day, from the back to the front. Not easy to get right. You can easily trip over your back markers and the competitors that you're trying to race with, because, of course, they're not lapped traffic when you're starting at the back. You've got to do the work, and you've got to make the gap, create the spaces, and deal with whatever is thrown at you. And, of course, a safety car was thrown at him, and everybody else to boot. But Leonardo Herrmann defending his position. Then Caio Chaves saw the moment when Herrmann got it wide and took the place. Right, here's the podium in the sport category then. The top 5 drivers to the far right of your picture. That is Matthias Roque, 5th position for him. And a very good drive indeed after a proper squabble in the middle of the decks there. So Matthias Roque, P5. The state flag is held aloft there for Andrzej Gajczynski. Don't forget, this is his comeback season after, I think, 12 years away it is this year, isn't it, for Andrzej Gajczynski? So great to see him back. Great to see him in position again. Too emotional to lift the trophy. Third place for Lucas Locatelli, a great result. It's second position for Cecilia Rebello, so she got a second place and a victory, but I think she'll be disappointed with second place. She's raising a smile, but I think she knows that a win got away from her there. And let's not go for this whole, oh, well, she still did well for a girl nonsense. She's a racing driver. She'll be really annoyed that the win slipped through her fingers. But it will be back again next week for her. She's got another chance to get another victory at the Algarve in the endurance category. For Jose Morenito, take a Bausa. Great victory, great race. A magnificent drive and a fabulous win in the sport category. That's not to say that Cecilia Rebello hasn't covered herself in glory this weekend. She got a win yesterday and a second today. But you can see from her body language, I really wanted to win that, and I should have won that. But obviously, letting herself go off the gas at the wrong moment in turn one to avoid Leonardo Herrmann's spinning car, that cost her the win, in my opinion. But the battle continues still in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil. And I'm sure next week at the Autódromo Algarve, she'll be back in the endurance category. And of course, she's going to have a very tough mission next week. But she'll have good company because she'll be partnered next week by Pietro Rumbano, who I think is definitely going to give her a lot of support to try and go back to the podium in the challenge category. Just 10 cars competing in challenge next week. But there's going to be a full 24 cars competing in the Porsche Carrera Cup category. So we'll have 34 Porsches in total during the endurance mix next week. That's going to be so exciting to watch. And of course, it will also signal the return of Alcy Feldman Sr. We saw Alcy Feldman Nito only this weekend, his son in the Lightning McQueen colours. You're going to get to see a lot more from Alcy Feldman Sr. There's Sadek Leiter, a replay of him out on the course, who was really struggling with his car all race long. And then during the safety car period, he finally bailed out. And so to the rookies podium, the 5 cars that came home in the 5 positions. Ricardo Zilberman getting a trophy. And that's satisfying after a very tough weekend indeed for Ricardo Zilberman. I think he'll be quietly satisfied with the fact that he gets to come away from a very difficult weekend indeed with some silverware. Well done to Ricardo Zilberman. A tough race, a tough weekend. 4th position for the 99, Claudio Reina. He didn't have it easy, that's for sure. He had to bounce back through adversity. And so 4th position is where he finishes. A good effort from William Araujo. He could have been a race winner this weekend, but 3rd position in race 2 will have to do. 2nd place, though, from Fernando Arruda. A really inspired drive from him in the rookie category. Gave it everything he had and really pushed. Was just 0.3 of a second away from the win. But Daniel Newman, who battled his way in the top 5 overall so long, hung on to the rookie victory by the scruff of his neck to get double victory in the rookie category. But he now knows that Fernando Arruda and William Araujo are serious threats to his position at the top of the point standings in rookie. And he's definitely going to be trying to pinch a win or 2 off them as the season progresses. So our final champagne celebration here. An absolutely fantastic weekend at the Autódromo Internacional Algarve. We hope you enjoyed the races as much as we did. But the racing will continue in the Autódromo Algarve next week in the endurance. Carlos Chavez now leads the championship with 190 points, with Leonardo Herrmann and Gerson Campos tied on 147 from Sadek Leiter, Lucas Locatelli, Jose Morenito, Daniel Newman, Matias Roque, Mario Dallara, and Caio Castro, who didn't get to start race 2. Well, that's it for the moment from the sprint categories of Porsche Carrera Cup and Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil. But the racing doesn't stop here at Algarve. We're just going to take a week off. The drivers will celebrate midweek and have a nice, relaxing time of it. But when we come back, there's going to be more to do next weekend. As we settle into the Algarve, we've got the endurance race coming up next week. 34 cars, 2.5 hours around this magnificent circuit that they call the roller coaster. I can't wait. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic weekend. Do make sure you join us for that. Same time, same place next week. Qualifying on Saturday, racing on Sunday. It's going to be magnificent. From Jake Sanson, from my producer Nicolas Ottolou and the whole crew, thank you very much indeed for joining us here in the Autódromo Internacional Algarve. We're not done yet here in Portugal. We'll be back to do it all again same time, same place, same race next week.